Hello, my wonderful friends. I'm back in my favorite reading chair. Today I have my fuzzy red blanket. And of course, Mr. Blue Bunny is here. He would never miss a story. And today we also have Goosey. I am going to read you the second part of Mercy Watson to the Rescue. This is where we last left Mercy. She was stepping outside. So let's see what happens now. Chapter 5. The Lincoln sisters live next door to the Watsons. Eugenia Lincoln is the older sister. She has many opinions. One of Eugenia's opinions is that pigs should not live in houses. Eugenia often says, "Listen closely to me, baby. Pigs are farm animals. They belong on farms. They do not belong in houses." "Yes, sister," says Baby. Baby Lincoln is the younger sister. She is the baby of the family. Baby agrees with everything Eugenia says. It is easier that way. But secretly, Baby has an opinion of her own. Baby's opinion is that Mercy is good company. At the Lincoln sisters' house, Mercy looked into Baby's window. She could see Baby sleeping. Mercy pressed her snout up against the window pane. Said Mercy, but Baby did not hear. Snuffle, said Mercy, but Baby did not wake up. Mercy tapped her hoof against the window. Baby sat up in bed. "Who's there?" she said. Baby saw Mercy's snout pressed up against the window. "A monster!" shouted Baby. "A monster at my window!" Mercy shook her head. "Sister!" shouted Baby. "Help! Help! A monster!" Eugenia woke up. She did not put in her teeth. She did not put on her glasses. Eugenia went straight to the phone and called the fire department. "There is a crisis of an uncertain nature at 52 Deckawoo Drive," said Eugenia Lincoln. "Come immediately." And then Eugenia put on her robe and rushed to Baby's room. In her own opinion, Eugenia Lincoln was very good in a crisis. Chapter 6. "What is going on in here?" asked Eugenia. "There's a monster outside," said Baby. She pointed at the window. "That is not a monster," said Eugenia. "That is a pig from next door." "Mercy?" said Baby. Eugenia shook her fist. "In my opinion," said Eugenia, "pigs belong on farms." "Yes, sister," said Baby. Eugenia tapped a knuckle against the window. "Get out of my yard!" she shouted at Mercy. "Oh, sister," said Baby, "don't yell at her. You'll hurt her feelings." "She doesn't have feelings," shouted Eugenia. "She's a pig." "Oh," said Baby, "I'm sure you're wrong, dear." "I am not wrong," Eugenia shouted. "I'm never wrong. I know a pig when I see one." Eugenia scowled. She pressed her nose against the window pane. Mercy stared at Eugenia. Eugenia stared at Mercy. "Pig!" shouted Eugenia. She turned and ran out of Baby's room. "Oh dear," said Baby Lincoln. "Oh my." Chapter 7. Eugenia ran toward Mercy. Mercy's heart beat faster. There was going to be a chase. Mercy loved a chase. She let Eugenia get very close to her. "Oink," said Mercy, dashing away. "Get out of my yard," shouted Eugenia. "Oink, oink," said Mercy. She ran in circles. She kicked up her heels. "No pigs allowed," Eugenia shouted. "Oh, sister," said Baby, "please be careful." A siren wailed. A fire truck pulled into the Lincoln sisters' driveway. Ned and Lorenzo got out of the truck. "Do you think there's the emergency?" Ned asked. "Could be," said Lorenzo. Ned and Lorenzo sighed. "You never know with this job," said Lorenzo. "You're right," said Ned. "You never know." Chapter 8. "Ma'am," said Lorenzo to Baby, "did you call the fire department?" "Oh dear," said Baby, "I did not, but Eugenia may have called." "Who is Eugenia?" asked Ned. "My sister," said Baby. "Is that her?" asked Lorenzo. "The one chasing the pig?" "Yes," said Baby, "that's her." Baby and Ned and Lorenzo watched Eugenia chasing Mercy through the yard. Lorenzo cleared his throat. "What was the emergency exactly?" asked Ned. "I thought I saw a monster at my bedroom window," said Baby, "but it was not a monster. It was Mercy." "Mercy?" said Lorenzo. "The pig," said Baby. "The pig who lives next door." "I see," said Ned. "Eugenia does not care for Mercy," said Baby. "In her opinion, pigs belong on farms." "There's something to be said for that opinion," said Lorenzo. Ned nodded. "Help!" shouted a faraway voice. "Help us! Help us!" "Did you hear that?" asked Ned. "Somebody's in trouble," said Lorenzo. "Let's go." Chapter 9. Ned and Lorenzo ran toward the call for help. They went into the Watson house. "Help!" Ned and Lorenzo looked up. They saw a bed hanging out of the ceiling. "She is amazing," said Mrs. Watson. "She is unbelievable. She is a porcine wonder," said Mr. Watson. Ned and Lorenzo ran upstairs. They picked up Mr. and Mrs. Watson. The Watsons' bed sighed loudly and crashed all the way through the floor. Boom! Mr. Watson looked at the hole where the bed used to be. "I have always believed very firmly in the fire department," said Mr. Watson. "As have I," said Mrs. Watson. "As have I." From outside the Watsons' house came a squeal. "Gotcha!" shouted Eugenia. Chapter 10. Ned and Lorenzo and Mr. and Mrs. Watson all went outside. Eugenia was sitting on the ground. Her arms were wrapped around Mercy's neck. Her cheek was resting on Mercy's back. Eugenia was breathing very loudly. "This pig she said, was on my property. We'd prefer that you did not call her a pig, said Mrs. Watson. We'd prefer that you call her a porcine wonder, said Mrs. Watson. After all, she did save us. She's a hero. She's a pig, said Eugenia. She started to cry. There, sister, said Baby. She bent over and patted Eugenia on the back. It sounds like Eugenia is feeling really frustrated. Mercy yawned. She was very tired. I guess that's it, said Ned. Yep, said Lorenzo. Our work here is done. Wait, said Mrs. Watson. It's almost time for breakfast. Oink? Asked Mercy. That's right. Breakfast, said Mrs. Watson. She kissed the top of Mercy's head. Mwah. She looked up at the firemen. Do you boys like toast? Chapter 11. In the Watsons' house, around the Watsons' kitchen table, sat Eugenia, Lincoln, Baby Lincoln, Mr. Watson, Mrs. Watson, and Ned, and Lorenzo. And Mercy, of course. There were 7 people around the Watsons' table. Mercy was at the head of the table in the seat of honor, and in front of her, on her favorite blue plate, was a very tall stack of hot buttered toast. A toast to Mercy, said Mr. Watson, holding up his glass of orange juice. A toast to our darling, our dear, said Mrs. Watson. A toast to Mercy, said Baby. Look at all the friends toasting Mercy. Look at their faces and how happy they are. But look at Eugenia's face. Does she look happy? In my opinion, said Eugenia, pigs should not be toasted. In my opinion, pigs do not belong at the kitchen table. To our hero, said Mr. Watson. Where would we be without Mercy? Yes, said Mrs. Watson. Who would have saved us? I can't imagine, said Ned. Me neither, said Lorenzo. They all clinked their glasses, and Mercy had another piece of toast. Chapter 12. Outside the Watsons' house, the sun was rising. First, the sun was red, and then it was orange. It rose higher and higher. Inside the Watsons' house, Mercy was lying on the couch. She was getting ready to take a nap. Bright, bright is the morning sun, sang Mr. and Mrs. Watson together. But brighter still is our porcine wonder. Mercy smiled. She closed her eyes. She was asleep before Mr. and Mrs. Watson even finished the song. Yay, my friends! That story was so silly. And I loved reading it to you, and I loved sharing it with you. It was full of adventure and drama and feelings and hot buttered toast. I love hot buttered toast. All right, I'm sending you big, big hugs. Goodbye.